Wealthy millionaire's pregnant wife catches him cheating, demands divorce, while he begs for mercy. In the heart of Los Angeles, where fortunes are built and reputations can crumble overnight, a single betrayal threatens to shatter one woman's entire world. Sophia Winthrop, pregnant with her first child, believed her marriage to the charismatic millionaire. Ethan Winthrop was bulletproof, founded on genuine love, trust, and their shared vision for a perfect family. But one late-night discovery of a secret affair sends her world spiraling out of control. Plagued by heartbreak, she embarks on a tumultuous journey of legal battles, haunting doubts, and an unrelenting quest for self-worth. Will this betrayal mark her downfall or become her defining moment of triumph? Sophia Anderson grew up in San Diego, the daughter of a retired Marine named Douglas Anderson and a part-time nurse, Alice Anderson. Through scholarships and her mother's careful savings, Sophia attended the University of Southern California, where she studied marketing. It was there, at a young entrepreneurs conference, that she first crossed paths with Ethan Winthrop, heir to a sprawling real estate empire that boasted luxury high-rises from Beverly Hills to downtown Seattle. Although she didn't come from his world of private jets and multi-million-dollar investments, she found his intelligence, charm, and philanthropy deeply alluring. When she and Ethan married 2 years later, it felt like a fairy tale, blending the best of both their worlds. Surrounded by a circle of influential friends, the wedding was an opulent affair held at the Winthrop family estate in Bel Air. The photographs landed in regional society magazines, Ethan in a tailored Armani tux, Sophia in a classic Vera Wang gown. Behind the glossy images, though, not everyone in Ethan's circle was welcoming of the outsider bride. Some questioned whether Sophia was after his money, while others whispered that Ethan had previously been less than committed in past relationships. Despite the rumors, Sophia believed their bond transcended idle gossip. She took pride in building an honest partnership. Once the newlywed bliss settled, she poured herself into philanthropic work, helping her mother establish health clinics in underserved areas. Meanwhile, Ethan immersed himself in expanding Winthrop properties, setting ambitious goals to surpass his father's legacy. His father, Frederick Winthrop, was known for a ruthless business style, and many wondered if Ethan, seemingly more compassionate, would follow in those footsteps or forge a different path. For months, life was seamless. Ethan traveled frequently, scouting new development projects in cities like Miami and Chicago, while Sophia supervised local charity events. She often accompanied him on business trips, turning them into mini vacations. They collected memories in some of the most luxurious corners of the world, sipping espresso in Milan, wine tasting in Napa, and strolling on the pristine beaches of the Caribbean. When Sophia learned she was pregnant, a moment she had dreamed of since she was a little girl, her joy seemed complete. Ethan, initially startled, claimed he was ready for fatherhood and assured her that starting a family would not derail his high-octane lifestyle. Yet cracks began to form. In small ways at first, Ethan's phone buzzing more than usual, his abrupt changes in schedule, an edginess that surfaced whenever Sophia asked about his new executive assistant, Vanessa Ortiz. Work stress, he said. She wanted to believe him, she needed to. After all, she couldn't imagine Ethan betraying her. They had built this union on love, not convenience. One warm April evening, Sophia hosted a small dinner for close friends. She noticed Ethan texting in the corner, his face illuminated by the phone's glow, a faint smirk dancing on his lips. He looked up, meeting her gaze with a fleeting, almost guilty expression, before pocketing his phone and returning to the guests. That night, she felt a pang of fear gnaw at her heart. But she brushed it aside. She was pregnant, emotional, and under normal circumstances, suspicion might have seemed irrational. But somewhere deep down, in a place she couldn't name, the seeds of doubt were planted. And soon they would take root in the most devastating way. A few weeks after that uneasy dinner, Sophia began noticing more unusual patterns. Ethan would head to the gym at odd hours, once at 10 p.m. on a Friday, another time at 6 a.m. Sunday morning. At first, she admired his commitment to fitness. But when he sometimes returned without a trace of sweat on his brow, her questions multiplied. One day, out of sheer curiosity, she attempted to reach him while he was supposedly out for a run. His phone rang for what felt like an eternity, before going straight to voicemail. Later, he texted back, "In a meeting, we'll call you soon." A meeting? On a Sunday? This mismatch between his earlier claim and his text ignited a wave of anxiety in her. But the bigger shock arrived one afternoon when Megan Walters, Sophia's closest friend since college, came over for lunch. Megan was a marketing consultant and frequently worked with wealthy clients. She casually asked, "Hey, how's Ethan's new assistant working out? I ran into a friend who mentioned seeing them at a rooftop bar last Tuesday night." Sophia paused, her fork hovering mid-air. "Rooftop bar? Last Tuesday, Ethan told me he was at a late meeting with the City Planning Commission." Megan's expression shifted. "Maybe there was a post-meeting gathering, or it could be innocent. But my friend said they looked friendly." Sophia tried to maintain her composure, but inside, dread unfurled like a dark banner. She tried to rationalize it. Could it be a business social? Networking events sometimes took place in chic locales, but the swirling rumors about Vanessa Ortiz, whom others described as stunning, ambitious, and flirtatious, struck her with more force than she cared to admit. That very evening, Ethan claimed another late-night meeting. Sophia pretended to be asleep when he finally came home, the clock reading well past midnight. Normally, he would kiss her forehead gently, whisper that he loved her. Tonight, he showered quickly and slipped into bed. As he drifted off, she heard his phone vibrate with a text. Curiosity burned, but she resisted the urge to grab it. She was determined not to become the suspicious wife rummaging through personal devices. Yet, the fear ate away at her. Each day, her mind replayed disjointed clips, a half-heard phone call, a mention of Vanessa's name, Ethan's repeated cancellations of dinners she painstakingly arranged. Even her pregnancy hadn't deterred him from missing prenatal appointments. He seemed always caught up in an emergency at the office or closing a critical deal. Desperate for clarity, she considered confronting him directly, but the part of her that loved him, that believed in the integrity of their vows, wanted to avoid baseless accusations. Perhaps, she thought, she should gather concrete evidence, if there was any to gather, before launching an attack. After all, Ethan had never given her reason to doubt him before. Still, ignoring her instincts felt like walking along a perilous ledge, uncertain when she might tumble off. When the heart whispers that something is wrong, it's often right. The question that plagued her was how far she was willing to go to uncover the truth, and whether she could handle the fallout once she did. Ethan's real estate group had recently undertaken a massive project in Phoenix, a luxury condominium complex that aimed to redefine upscale living in the desert. The groundbreaking ceremony was planned for a Thursday afternoon, and Ethan invited Sophia to join him. However, just a day before departure, he backtracked, claiming there was a limit on who could travel on the corporate jet. Apologizing profusely, he reassured her that they would take a baby moon soon. Sophia, though disappointed, shrugged it off until Megan called with startling news. "Hey, I was just going through some pictures on social media," Megan said breathlessly. "One of my acquaintances at the Phoenix event posted photos. It looks like Ethan is there with Vanessa." Sophia felt her pulse racing. What? What kind of photos? They're in group shots, but they're standing awfully close. And there's one where it looks like Ethan's got an arm around her waist. Could be innocent, but, you know, it's weird he didn't mention her traveling too. Sophia's blood went cold. She swallowed the lump in her throat, trying to remain calm. That evening, she texted Ethan, inquiring politely about how the trip was going. His replies were brief and vague. Good. Busy day. We'll call you. Then nothing. Hours passed without a call. It was nearly midnight when her phone finally buzzed. She answered, only to hear background noise, laughter, clinking glasses, and music. Ethan said he was winding down after a networking dinner, but his voice sounded slurred, more casual than usual. Vanessa's name never came up. Sophia could not shake the feeling of betrayal. She resolved to get answers once he returned. What she never expected was that the truth would reveal itself in the most humiliating and heartbreaking manner possible. 2 days later, Ethan returned from Phoenix, breezing into their Bel Air mansion like nothing was amiss. Sophia waited until after dinner, when they sat in the living room. Heart-pounding, she asked, "So, how was the groundbreaking? Megan said she saw pictures of you and Vanessa there." He stiffened slightly, yet managed a cool smile. Vanessa had some tasks to handle for the event. It was purely professional. She forced a smile, trying to appear unaffected. Then she brought up something else. "You said there wasn't room on the corporate jet for me to go, but apparently Vanessa went. Why would you?" Her question was cut short by the sudden ring of Ethan's phone. He glanced at the screen, then dismissed the call. Sophia recognized the frustration flicker across his face. She decided she'd had enough. Excusing herself, she headed upstairs to the master bedroom, tears pooling in her eyes. She needed a moment to gather her thoughts before confronting him again. That moment arrived sooner than anticipated. Around 2 a.m., a noise roused her from a restless sleep. She realized the side of the bed where Ethan should be was empty. Confusion gave way to alarm as she followed faint voices leading down the hall. She inched toward Ethan's home office door, which was ajar, and what she saw next felt like an iron dagger piercing her heart. Ethan was there, his arms around a woman with long dark hair and an unmistakable figure, Vanessa Ortiz. Their bodies were pressed close, lips locked in a desperate, feverish kiss. The overhead light reflected off the tears of betrayal that instantly sprang to Sophia's eyes. For a second, she stood frozen, not wanting to believe the scene unfolding before her. Vanessa noticed her first, gasping and stepping back. Ethan whipped around, eyes widening in horror. "Sophia," he began, but she was already running away, the world spinning as she tried to make sense of the betrayal, adrenaline surging through her veins. Her heart pounded like thunder as she made it to the bedroom. Ethan, stumbling after her, grabbed her arm. "Please, Sophia, wait, let me explain." She shook him off, fury and heartbreak twisting her features. "Explain what?" she demanded, voice trembling. "That you lied and cheated while I'm carrying your child." Tears burned her eyes as she pressed a protective hand over her stomach. All the suspicion, the worry, the seeds of doubt she had tried so hard to suppress were laid bare. The harsh, undeniable truth was now staring her in the face. And everything she believed about her fairy tale marriage lay shattered like glass at her feet. In the immediate aftermath of discovery, Sophia locked herself in the master bedroom, ignoring Ethan's frantic knocks and pleas. Through the door, he insisted the affair was a recent lapse in judgment, not a long-term relationship. Vanessa, he claimed, was just a fling, someone he turned to during a spell of business stress. But Sophia's sobs drowned out his excuses. She felt physically ill, her stomach twisting not only with morning sickness, but with the emotional devastation that threatened to consume her. Eventually, she heard Ethan retreat down the hall. Sleep was impossible. She sat against the bedroom wall, tear-streaked cheeks pressed to her knees, wondering how everything had spiraled so far from the marriage she once cherished. Was this a reflection of her own naivety? Had she ignored the red flags because she was afraid of losing the man she loved? When dawn broke, she finally emerged. She found Ethan in the living room, disheveled, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. He rushed over, voice pleading. "Sophia, I swear it meant nothing. It was just physical. I was under a lot of pressure." She cut him off, raising a trembling hand. "Stop! Don't insult me with excuses." He tried to approach her, but she held her ground. "You lied to me. You betrayed my trust. And you did it while I'm pregnant with your child." His face contorted in guilt, and tears gathered in his eyes. "I love you, Sophia. I know I messed up, but please let me fix this." She stared at him, recalling the countless nights she had prayed for him to come home earlier, the dinners she cooked, the phone calls he ignored, and the swirling rumors she had dismissed. Something snapped within her. "You cheated. You brought that woman into our home. I can't even look at you right now." Without waiting for his response, she turned on her heel and walked away, grabbing her purse and phone. Overwhelmed, she needed a place to process her pain, somewhere safe. She dialed Megan, and within 15 minutes, she was in her friend's car, tears pouring out in uncontrollable waves. Megan guided her to a modest hotel in West Hollywood, far from the glitz and glamour of Bel Air. There, away from the prying eyes of the Winthrop circle, Sophia broke down completely. She called her mother, Alice Anderson, who nearly burst into tears herself upon hearing the news. "Sophia, I'm on my way up. Don't do anything rash, sweetheart," her mother pleaded. But rash felt like a mild term for how Sophia felt. Her heart, once bursting with love, now overflowed with rage, betrayal, and a profound sadness that she couldn't articulate. She remembered reading about scorned wives who inflicted revenge by going public or destroying their cheating spouse's prized possessions. But such acts seemed beneath her. Her priority was her unborn child, whom she vowed to protect at all costs. She resolved that the first step in that protection would be leaving Ethan for good. That night, alone in the quiet hotel room, she stared at her reflection in the mirror, a woman who was no longer naive, no longer starry-eyed, and no longer patient. Her illusions about marriage and trust had been shattered beyond repair. In a moment of clarity, she made a single phone call to Anna Friedman, a well-known divorce attorney in Beverly Hills. She left a voicemail outlining her situation, concluding with a broken whisper, "I need help." And in that moment, she felt a spark of something she hadn't felt since discovering Ethan's affair, a faint sense of power. She was determined to fight for herself and her child, even if it meant dismantling the life she had spent years building with the man she thought she knew best. The next morning, Anna Friedman called Sophia back promptly. Their conversation was brief yet laden with tension. Anna, known for her relentless representation of high-profile women in Hollywood divorces, assured Sophia that she could guide her through the complexities of parting ways with a wealthy, influential spouse. Encouraged by Anna's confidence, Sophia resolved to serve Ethan with divorce papers. She wanted no illusions of reconciliation, no half-hearted attempts at marriage counseling. Maybe she would regret not exploring therapy, but the betrayal felt too visceral, too raw. She already imagined a separate future, herself and her baby, forging a new path without the shadow of Ethan's unfaithfulness. That afternoon, she gathered her courage and called him. He picked up on the first ring. "Sophia," he began, voice trembling, "thank God, I've been calling and texting. Are you okay?" "Don't act like you care about my well-being," she said, a bitter edge creeping into her tone. "I've decided to file for divorce. I'll send the papers through my lawyer." Silence weighed heavily on the line. After several seconds, he spoke, voice cracking. "Sophia, please, don't do this. I know I messed up, but I messed up," she echoed, incredulous. "You destroyed our marriage, Ethan. There's nothing left to salvage." He begged, pleaded, and tried to explain once more, but she remained unmoved. Finally, she ended the call, her decision bolstered by the finality of her words. Yet, a wave of guilt swelled within her. She remembered the hopeful smiles they once exchanged, the plans for their child's nursery, the honeymoon nights that were filled with laughter. How had they fallen so far, so fast? 2 days later, the divorce papers were served to Ethan at his office, a pristine skyscraper in downtown Los Angeles known as Winthrop Tower. The news spread rapidly among the staff. Employees spoke in hushed whispers, and a few loyal aides attempted to shield Ethan from the ensuing gossip. Even Vanessa Ortiz, the rumored mistress, faced withering glares from co-workers who had once revered her competence and charm. Meanwhile, reporters from celebrity tabloids began loitering outside Winthrop Tower, eager to snap pictures of the scorned wife or the cheating millionaire. The story was ripe for public consumption. Sophia dreaded the thought of her private heartbreak splashed across magazine covers. But she felt an odd sense of validation in making Ethan face public accountability for his actions. She retreated to her parents' home in San Diego, wanting to avoid the paparazzi swarm. Every day, she struggled with the swirl of conflicting emotions: anger, heartbreak, regret. The pregnancy heightened her vulnerability. Nausea and fatigue became constants in her daily life, overshadowed only by the emotional wreckage she waded through. On the 4th day in San Diego, she met with Anna Friedman in person. Anna laid out the likely scenarios, a settlement negotiation that would ensure Sophia's financial security and potential custody arrangements. The mention of custody rattled Sophia. She wanted full custody, but also recognized the emotional toll it could take on a child to be separated from their father. Even if Ethan had betrayed her, he was still the baby's father, a fact that filled her with equal parts rage and sorrow. That night, while lying awake in her childhood bedroom, she felt a distinct flutter in her belly. It was the baby's first noticeable movement. She placed a hand over her stomach, tears silently streaming down her face. This tiny life, so precious and vulnerable, had no choice in how or why it came into the world. Its father was a cheater. Its mother was devastated, but the baby deserved love, stability, and a chance at happiness. Sophia vowed to provide that, no matter the cost, even if it meant waging a legal war against the man she once adored. In Los Angeles, Ethan found his fortress of success under siege. Winthrop Properties' board of directors frowned upon scandal, wary that negative press could scare off investors. The tabloids released sensational headlines: "Millionaire Ethan Winthrop's wife demands divorce after cheating scandal," accompanied by blurry photographs of a tearful Sophia leaving their Bel Air mansion. Within his inner circle, tensions simmered. Frederick Winthrop, Ethan's father, had built the company on an image of family values and philanthropic contributions, even if, behind closed doors, he wasn't the most moral man. Confronting his son in a closed-door meeting, Frederick boomed, "How could you let yourself get caught up in such a public mess? Our name is everything." Ethan, slumped in an expensive leather chair, raked his hands through his hair. "I know I messed up, Dad. I don't need the lecture." Frederick slammed a hand on the desk. "You do need the lecture. You're jeopardizing everything we've worked for. The investors are skittish. The media is having a field day. And your wife—" He paused, glaring. "Your pregnant wife wants a divorce. Fix it." Ethan felt cornered. He had spent his life trying to escape his father's domineering shadow, only to realize that his father's words carried weight he couldn't ignore. Meanwhile, in San Diego, Sophia was dealing with her own familial pressures. Her mother, Alice, hovered protectively, preparing nutritious meals, urging her daughter to take prenatal vitamins and attend childbirth classes. Douglas Anderson, her father, was furious. He threatened to confront Ethan face to face. "No man disrespects my daughter like this and gets away with it," he growled. Sophia pleaded for calm, acknowledging her father's anger, but insisting that the best course was a clean legal separation. She spent her days drafting statements with Anna Friedman, preparing for the possibility of court appearances. The stress mounted, and more than once she found herself in tears. She experienced restless nights, worried about the effect of her anxiety on the baby's health. Her friend Megan visited regularly, offering both emotional support and a semblance of normalcy. "You'll get through this," Megan assured her over decaf lattes, "and you'll be stronger for it. Trust me." Yet, the question that haunted Sophia was not about survival. It was about whether she could truly rebuild her heart after such betrayal. A week passed, and an unexpected phone call arrived at the Anderson home. "It's Ethan," Alice whispered, handing the phone to Sophia. Nervous energy coursed through her as she lifted the receiver. "Sophia," Ethan began, voice subdued, "I'm calling because I'd like to meet. I'll drive down to San Diego or anywhere you want. Please, can we talk?" Her heart clenched. She had sworn off pity for him, yet the sound of his voice triggered a surge of conflicting emotions. She thought of the baby's well-being, of her own desire for closure. "All right," she finally said. "We can talk at my lawyer's office. Nothing more." He hesitated, perhaps hoping for a more personal setting, but reluctantly agreed. As soon as she hung up, her hands trembled. She questioned whether she was truly prepared to face him, to hear his defenses and apologies. The wheels of change were in motion, though, and she could feel the tension building like a storm about to break. The meeting was scheduled in downtown San Diego at the offices of Friedman and Associates, a reputable law firm on the 18th floor of a glass-walled tower. It provided panoramic views of the city and harbor. Sophia arrived with her attorney, Anna, who exuded a calm professionalism that steadied Sophia's frazzled nerves. Ethan was already there, pacing the lobby in a crisp navy suit, shoulders tense. The moment he saw Sophia, a flicker of tenderness crossed his face, quickly overshadowed by remorse. They stepped into a conference room, a sleek space, with minimalist decor and neutral tones. Anna took the lead, greeting Ethan and his attorney, Brian Lewitt, a polished man with a silver tie. Once everyone was seated, Anna spoke first. "We're here to discuss the terms of the divorce, custody, and any additional matters regarding the unborn child." Ethan cleared his throat. "Before we get into the legalities, I'd like a moment to speak to Sophia, privately." Anna and Brian exchanged glances. Hesitantly, Sophia nodded. The attorneys stepped out, leaving the couple alone. The silence was deafening at first, both struggling to find the right words. Eventually, Ethan's voice emerged, heavy with sorrow. "I'm so sorry, Sophia. I know you hate me, and I don't blame you. But I beg you to reconsider. It was one night, actually. A few nights of stupidity. I take full responsibility, and I'm ready to do anything to make it right." Tears welled in her eyes. She wanted to lash out, to hurl accusations, but she also felt a wave of exhaustion. "You think it's that simple? You humiliated me. You destroyed my trust. I can't just erase the image of you with Vanessa." He swallowed hard. "I've ended everything with her." "There's no excuse. But I was under such pressure trying to expand the business, dealing with my father's expectations, and I made a terrible, selfish mistake." She closed her eyes, tears slipping free. "My father was a Marine. He taught me that under pressure, your true character shows. You think I haven't felt stress, especially being pregnant? Yet I never once betrayed you." He reached across the table, desperately grasping her hand. She tensed, but didn't pull away immediately. "I know," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I love you, and I love our baby. Please, let's go to counseling, therapy, whatever it takes. For a heartbeat." Her soul wavered. She recalled the dreams they'd spun about raising a child in a loving household, the quiet nights at home, the big family holidays. Part of her yearned to salvage that, but the memory of him with Vanessa cut deeper than she ever thought possible. She withdrew her hand. I need time, Ethan, but for now I want to proceed with the divorce. That's my decision. He looked shattered, tears brimming. I'll sign whatever you want. Just please, can we talk again? Outside of lawyers and offices, her own tears surfaced. I'll think about it. With that, she signaled to Anna, who re-entered. The atmosphere turned formal once again. They discussed preliminary settlement figures, spousal support, and how they might structure parenting rights once the baby was born. Ethan appeared reluctant to fight over anything. He seemed willing to hand over the house, and any financial cushion Sophia requested a reaction perhaps driven by guilt or genuine remorse. Yet, as the meeting wound down, Sophia felt no relief, no sense of triumph. She felt hollow. She had once looked at Ethan with unwavering love, and now every glance reminded her of betrayal. This was not a victory. It was a tragic detour from the life she had believed in. Sophia left the meeting feeling emotionally drained. She found solace back at her parents' house, where she spent the evening in her old bedroom, leafing through childhood photos. The safety of her past contrasted starkly with the chaotic uncertainty of her present. Despite her efforts to remain resolute, a flicker of doubt gnawed at her. Could Ethan truly change? While she wrestled with these thoughts, Ethan plunged into a desperate campaign to prove his sincerity. Over the next week, she received a barrage of heartfelt text messages, flowers delivered daily with notes like, "I will never give up on us. Please forgive me." He even arranged for a letter of apology from Vanessa Ortiz to be emailed to Sophia, in which Vanessa took full responsibility, insisting she had pursued Ethan relentlessly. Whether that was true or a carefully orchestrated measure, Sophia didn't know. Sophia's parents urged her to remain steadfast in her decision. Her father, Douglas, cornered her one morning. "You need to focus on what's best for you and your baby. Cheaters rarely change. Don't be fooled by his dramatics." Yet, somewhere in the back of her mind, she recalled the softness in Ethan's eyes, his trembling voice pleading for another chance. And so, when he called one evening to invite her to a therapy session, she surprised everyone, including herself, by agreeing. Their first therapy appointment took place at a discreet clinic in La Jolla, recommended by Megan, who once sought counseling for her own relationship troubles. The therapist, Dr. Rebecca Palmer, had a calm demeanor and immediately set ground rules for communication. The hour that followed was excruciating, yet cathartic. Ethan confessed in detail how neglected he felt at times, pressured by father, board members, and the whirlwind of business demands. He explained that in a moment of weakness, Vanessa offered him excitement and an escape. Sophia's tears never ceased. "Your escape cost me my heart," she whispered. "And it almost cost our child a stable family." Dr. Palmer probed deeper, asking about Sophia's feelings of betrayal and whether any part of her could see a path to forgiveness. She admitted she didn't know. "I can't trust him," she said simply. Ethan reached for her hand, and she allowed it, though her skin tingled with a mix of longing and revulsion. Could she ever trust him again? The therapy session ended with no clear resolution, but a new door had cracked open a chance, however slim, for reconciliation. Outside the clinic, they stood awkwardly by her car. The sun was setting, casting an orange glow over the parking lot. "I appreciate you coming," Ethan said. "I'm willing to do anything to keep our family together." Sophia's gaze fell to her baby bump. She placed a protective hand over her stomach. "I'm here for our child," she replied. "Not for you. Don't confuse the two." Ethan nodded, pain etched into his features. "I know, but maybe one day, maybe you'll see." I'm worth another chance. She had no answer. As she drove away, she felt torn between the life they had once planned and the reality of his betrayal. No matter how strong her anger, the baby was a link that would connect them forever. And that knowledge both terrified and comforted her. The social circle that once admired Ethan and Sophia's power couple aura now took sides. Some quietly supported Sophia, outraged by Ethan's infidelity, while others, particularly those close to the Winthrop business empire, chose to defend him or remain neutral. Friends who used to swarm them at lavish parties or weekend getaways disappeared, fearing the slightest association would thrust them into the scandal. Meghan, however, remained fiercely loyal. One afternoon, she accompanied Sophia to a prenatal check up at St. Mary's Hospital. Dr. Avery Wilson, a well-regarded obstetrician, performed the ultrasound. As the whoosh of the fetal heartbeat filled the exam room, Sophia felt a surge of love. This baby, so innocent and unformed, was the only certainty in her chaotic world. A healthy heartbeat, Doctor, Wilson said, smiling. Everything looks good for your gestational age, though I do recommend continued stress management. We don't want your blood pressure spiking. Sophia nodded, though she knew stress relief was easier said than done. Outside, in the corridor, Meghan squeezed her hand. You have a beautiful baby on the way. Don't let Ethan or anyone else destroy that joy. That evening, as Sophia sorted through her emails, she noticed a message from an unknown sender. It read, I have information that could help you. Contact me immediately. Attached was a cryptic file labeled Vanessa Ortiz. Alarmed, Sophia called Anna Friedman, who advised caution but agreed they should open it. Inside, they found copies of text messages and emails from Vanessa to an unknown third party, apparently detailing how she targeted Ethan for career advancement. She referred to him as a stepping stone to bigger things, praising his wealth and influence. Sophia felt a wave of revulsion. So she was using him, and he risked our marriage for this? She forwarded the contents to Ethan, along with a terse note. Look at what she wrote. How could you do this to us? His reply arrived within minutes, Sophia. I had no idea. I'm so sorry. Let's meet, please. Each revelation about Vanessa should have made Sophia feel vindicated, yet it only deepened her sense of betrayal. Ethan had let a woman so callous and manipulative into their lives, risking everything. Now, with more therapy sessions booked, and a swirl of rumors about Vanessa's next moves, some said she was planning to file a harassment suit against Ethan to blackmail him. Sophia felt the ground beneath her feet slip further away. This was bigger than a simple act of infidelity. It was a calculated intrusion into her marriage, a collision of ambition and vulnerability that left her future precariously perched. The old Sophia, naive and trusting, might have caved in tears, but now she found herself leaning toward a steely resolve. If Ethan was sincere in wanting to fix things, he would have to do it on her terms, no secrets, no half-truths, and no illusions. The news about Vanessa's potential legal action against Ethan ignited a new wave of scandal. She alleged that he had made unprofessional advances, flipping the narrative to paint herself as a victim. While many in Ethan's circle dismissed this as a desperate ploy to save her reputation, the whisper of a #MeToo-like scenario threatened to engulf Winthrop Properties in a firestorm of bad publicity. Ethan's father, Frederick, stepped in forcefully. We can't have this smear on our family. Settle with her, discreetly. Do whatever it takes to make it go away, he barked at Ethan. But Ethan resisted. I won't pay hush money for something that's a lie. She pursued me, not the other way around. Frederick shook his head, disgusted. Your pride has already done enough damage. Handle it, or I will. Caught in the crossfire, Sophia watched from a distance, her immediate focus still on the impending divorce and her baby's well-being. Yet, Seeing Ethan stand firm against his father for once sparked a flicker of admiration. Perhaps he was not as spineless under pressure as she had feared, though she didn't let that thought overshadow the hurt he had caused. 2 more therapy sessions came and went. In each, Ethan bared more of his soul, recounting childhood struggles with an overbearing father and a mother who often turned a blind eye to family issues. His insecurities, it seemed, ran deep. He admitted that fueling his public persona was a sense of inadequacy passed down by Frederick's constant comparisons to more successful peers. Sophia listened, tears in her eyes, not sure how to feel. She empathized with his past pain, but couldn't ignore the present scars he'd inflicted on her. "I need you to see that I'm committed," Ethan told her after one session. "I've made mistakes, horrible ones, but this baby is everything. And you're everything to me." She looked away. "I'm not a doormat, Ethan. Love isn't enough to undo betrayal. Trust is fragile." He nodded, swallowing back tears. "I understand. I'll earn it back, step by step, if you let me." Sophia said nothing. Silence answered him. Meanwhile, Anna Friedman urged Sophia to finalize the divorce settlement. "Every day you delay, you risk additional complications with his father or a potential lawsuit from Vanessa. We can secure a more favorable outcome if we act now." But Sophia hesitated. Each time she signed a document, a piece of her sank under the weight of what she was destroying. She was pregnant, alone, and terrified of what a single parent's life might look like. Could she handle the emotional and financial responsibilities that came with raising a child without a partner? Yes, she was entitled to substantial support from Ethan, but money was hardly the primary concern. The heartbreak of losing the man she once considered her soulmate persisted, a dull ache in the background of every decision. Late one night, she stared at the settlement papers on her desk. Tears blurred her vision. She had never felt so uncertain. Her father, a stoic man, found her there and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Whatever you decide, you'll have us," he said quietly. "You're not alone." She nodded, but the words that stayed with her belonged to Megan. "Sometimes you have to burn the past to the ground to build a brighter future." Sophia wondered if the flames from that burn would ever truly subside, or if they would leave her with scars too deep to heal. Vanessa's threats escalated. She toyed with the media, hinting at revealing text messages and photos that would confirm her version of events. Ethan's legal team scrambled to respond, demanding proof or an official complaint. Tension soared, with Frederick repeatedly urging Ethan to settle quietly. But Ethan refused, citing a moral stand he'd never before displayed so publicly. "I won't pay off someone who's lying just to protect the company," he declared. This uncharacteristic resolve brought him to an emotional crossroads. If he was going to stand for truth against Vanessa's manipulations, perhaps he should also stand for truth in his personal life: honesty, loyalty, genuine change. In one final attempt to salvage his marriage, Ethan made a grand gesture. He invited Sophia to dinner at a secluded beach house in Malibu owned by a mutual friend, Peter Carlson, who agreed to lend it out for the evening. Initially, Sophia refused, but after some pleading and assurance that there would be no paparazzi, she relented. Curiosity, or perhaps the faint ember of longing, propelled her. The drive down the Pacific Coast Highway at sunset was surreal. She remembered the countless road trips they had taken, the laughter, the playlists they sang along to. Now, she drove alone, heavier with pregnancy, heavier with heartbreak. Upon arriving at the beach house, she found Ethan waiting on the deck. Simple fairy lights glowed around an intimate table. The sound of crashing waves filled the cool night air. When she stepped onto the sand, her breath caught. Memories flooded her romantic walks on the beach, stolen kisses under the moonlit sky when they were still newlyweds. "I know this doesn't fix anything," Ethan began softly, "but I wanted to remind you of how we once were." Sophia's eyes glistened with tears she couldn't quite suppress. They sat down to dinner, a modest meal of grilled fish and vegetables he'd personally prepared. Throughout the evening, Ethan poured out his heart, admitting his failings and acknowledging that redemption would not come quickly, or maybe not at all. She listened, occasionally wiping her eyes, lost in a swirl of emotions. "It's hard to hear you say all the right things now," she murmured, "when you said nothing to stop yourself from cheating before." He looked anguished. "I'm not that man anymore, or I'm trying not to be. I can't force you to believe me, but I'm begging you, for the sake of our child, to consider letting me be the husband and father you deserve." Before she could reply, a sharp pain tugged at her abdomen. Alarmed, she clutched her stomach, her face going pale. Ethan sprang to her side, concern etched into every line of his face. "What's wrong?" Her breathing became labored. I think it's just stress, but oh God, it hurts." Panic flared in Ethan's eyes. He scooped her into his arms and drove her to a nearby hospital, ignoring traffic rules. The entire ride, her tears mingled with fear as she worried something might be wrong with the baby. At the emergency room, doctors ran tests and monitored her vitals. Fortunately, the baby's heartbeat was strong and the pain subsided. Dr. Wilson, who had traveled from San Diego to Los Angeles for a conference, happened to be on call. She advised Sophia to reduce stress and recommended bed rest for the coming week. The near scare jolted Sophia and Ethan both. For the first time since the affair, they held each other with mutual fear for their unborn child's safety. In that moment, under the fluorescent hospital lights, the magnitude of their situation crystallized. Their choices would impact not just themselves, but a little life depending on them. It was a turning point, an acknowledgement that something had to change, and soon. The hospital incident became a clarion call for Sophia. She returned to her parents' home to rest, re-evaluating every aspect of her life. The divorce papers lay unsigned on her nightstand. Ethan's heartfelt letters, texts, and therapy session notes cluttered the bedside table. The child in her womb kicked and fluttered, as if urging her to choose carefully. Within a few days, Vanessa Ortiz abruptly dropped her legal threats, rumored to be due to lack of solid evidence. Freed from that burden, Ethan focused single-mindedly on saving his marriage. He showed up unannounced one afternoon with a basket of fresh groceries, offering to cook healthy meals for Sophia. Her parents looked on warily, but Douglas relented, allowing him inside. In the kitchen, Ethan cooked a simple stew under Sophia's watchful gaze. The domesticity of the moment felt both comforting and strange. She studied him as he chopped carrots, remembering the man who once seemed so distant and consumed by wealth. Now, he appeared humbled, even broken, by his mistakes. When dinner was ready, her parents politely excused themselves. Alone with Ethan, Sophia mustered the courage to speak candidly. "Even after all your apologies, I'm terrified," she admitted, tears threatening to spill. "If I take you back, what's to stop you from cheating again?" His eyes filled with sorrow. "I can't give you a guarantee on the future, but I've learned that your trust is everything to me. I won't risk losing you again." The next morning, she called Anna Friedman. With a trembling voice, she said, "I'm putting the divorce on hold for now." Anna was taken aback. "Sophia, are you sure? After everything he's done?" "I'm not sure," Sophia confessed. "But I want to see if he really can change. If it doesn't work, I can always sign those papers later." And so began an improbable rebuilding process. She agreed to move back into the Bel Air mansion, albeit with conditions. Ethan had to continue therapy, give her full access to his phone and schedule, and attend every prenatal appointment. No excuses. He agreed without hesitation, even resigning from a few board positions to ensure more time at home. It was not an immediate fairy tale. They fought frequently over trust issues, painful memories, and the looming presence of Frederick's condemnation. But each argument ended with a new layer of honesty that had never existed in their marriage before. Together, they prepared a nursery, painting the walls a soft pastel green and placing a plush rocking chair by the window. Each stroke of paint felt like both an apology and a promise, a tangible sign of their commitment to this unborn child who had already endured so much turmoil. Finally, months later, as Sophia reached the end of her pregnancy, she felt a sense of cautious hope. Ethan had not faltered in his dedication. He was there at every ultrasound, practicing breathing techniques for labor, even learning how to install a car seat. He became the partner she had always wished for, though the scars of betrayal remained. She wondered if those scars would ever fade, or if they would become the reminder that sometimes love can break you before it heals you. One afternoon, as they sat in the nursery, Sophia resting in the rocking chair, she found herself unconsciously rubbing her round belly. Ethan knelt beside her, placing a gentle hand atop hers. "You deserve happiness," he said softly. "I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you get it." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I deserve honesty. Let's start there." Their eyes locked, an unspoken vow that whatever came next, they would face it with open hearts. The future was uncertain, the past still a source of pain, but nestled in Sophia's womb was a new beginning. In that moment, she realized that while some marriages might break under the strain of betrayal, others could bend and reshape, forging an entirely different kind of bond, one where forgiveness, though hard-fought, could finally find a home. Sophia's world was upended the moment she discovered her millionaire husband's affair. Heartbreak, anger, and a fierce need for independence fueled her quest for divorce. Yet, in the end, she saw that relationships and the people in them can evolve in unexpected ways. Her decision to give Ethan one more chance came from a place of determination to nurture a healthier future for herself and their unborn child. This story, filled with betrayal and redemption, shows us that love can emerge stronger when forged through honesty and painful self-reflection. If you found this emotional journey compelling, please like this video and share it with friends who might draw strength from Sophia's experience. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more real-life, inspired drama fiction and powerful narratives that remind us of the resilience of the human spirit. Thank you for tuning in.